What's up, everybody? Welcome to another Fearless Gamer League of Legends video. Today I'm going to be showing off a full gameplay video from Dominion with a little bit of commentary. As you can see, I'm playing Teemo in this game. I actually had a lot of fun with Dominion today. The beta seems pretty cool. It seems obviously very polished, which is good, you know, especially considering that they've been working on this for a while now. You know, they got to show it off at PAX, they got to show it off at Gamescom, so obviously the gameplay is pretty polished. So, just looking around the map here, these are the 5 points that you are trying to capture throughout the game. You run up to them and you channel, and through channeling, you'll see a circle start to appear around each capture point, and that's how you know eventually that you get it captured, and then that deals damage to the enemy nexus. And obviously it's a race to 0 from 500 against the enemy. So, pretty cool game. You start at level 3. I picked up the Prospector's Blade, which is 20 damage, 5% lifesteal. It's basically the Doran's for this map, sort of like a double Doran's Blade, I guess. But it does not stack, so that's kind of a nice thing. You won't see people run around with 5 of those on this map, which is very cool. And basically both teams rush out and try to grab these 2 points that are close to their base, and then the third point up top, the windmill, is kind of the contested point. You'll see throughout this game, my team makes a lot of mistakes where we're trying to extend too far and take those other 2 points. I think a lot of Dominion's gameplay, especially with when you get into higher levels and more experienced players, is going to be all about controlling those 2 points close to your base, and then moving on and contesting the windmill. Here you can see that the capture point down here, which I guess is the quarry, that tower is actually firing on both Wukong and Katarina, which is really nice. It makes for some nice defense, and you know, obviously 1v2 I'm able to take both them out, even though I die. But we're all back at base and respawning, so I've effectively protected that point from being captured, which is pretty cool. The enemy team has Jax. I'll try to keep an eye on him throughout the game. He is really frustrating on this map. From a balance standpoint, I think we're probably going to see a lot of similar balance issues that we see on Summoner's Rift. Tanky DPS is obviously very, very strong here, but there are also a lot of different strategies available. I played a game against a Teemo later in the day, shortly after this game, where Teemo grabbed Boots of Mobility, 4 Zeals, and I think it's called Priscilla's Dominance or Priscilla's something or another. It allows you to capture points faster. It gives an active speed buff, kind of like Shirelia's, and some health regen, I think. But all he did was like run out and try to get like duck in and take uncontested capture points, and it was incredibly frustrating. I mean, he pretty much won the game for his team. So there are some options for play strategies. It's not all just one way, which is good to see. I think for me, it's just more frustrating to see tanky DPS being still being so prominent, because yeah, I'm just really tired of it. I see it on Summoner's Rift all the damn time, and it gets old. There are a lot of new items in Dominion though, and some of them really help out with that. There's an item called Entropy that deals true damage to targets and slows targets. It's the Phage plus the BF sword item, and it's really powerful. It feels really good. So there are a lot of options, I guess, for kind of dealing with the tanky DPS that we'll obviously have to play out. And remember, these are just my impressions from today. I played, I don't know, 4 or 5 games. Tried to test out a bunch of different champions, as many different champions as I could. So I was trying to have some fun with it. But obviously you can't, it's tough to judge what's going to work and what's not. I think like one of you guys commented on the blog today, it's going to be a while before this is boring, which I think is really cool. You'll also notice that this video is pretty short. I'm probably going to speed it up in the middle so that I can get it under the 15-minute mark for YouTube. But yeah, the games, they last about 20 minutes. Like, Riot that was not a joke. This game comes kind of down to the wire, and it comes in right about the 20-minute mark, which is pretty cool. So that last kill you saw Jax, he was actually soaking some turret damage. The way that the turrets work on the capture points is as soon as you start channeling, you know, you get like a little pre-channel, which is kind of like the smaller stream going out to your going out to the capture point, and then you get like the actual channel where you get, you know, the big green beam going up there. And that green beam actually stops the turret from firing, which is really nice. You know, you kind of need that in order for your team to take it. And there are you'll see several instances where, like one of my teammates maybe could have started channeling, you know, on a capture point, and instead they didn't. So we took a lot of turret fire, you know, sort of unnecessarily, and that's kind of part of the fun strategy of this thing. Yeah. So here my team does manage to push the enemy team back, and we're actually going to move in, grab a couple kills here, and push forward. Now, this is kind of what I was talking about earlier. Really, like Vlad coming into fight, you know, you'll see the enemy team's Wukong, he's up top, and he's getting ready to, you know, he's just basically farming up, defending that top capture point. And that's kind of a big problem. Like, really what we needed to do is go get that top capture point, because now we capture this point, and what happens? The enemy team respawns, they rush right out here. We don't even get the full capture, you know, before they come in and deal some damage or whatever. I think we do end up getting a couple kills, or at least a kill, you know, and finish off this cap, but yeah, we should just get that top one. You'll notice also those gold rings around the capture point. Because we got that, we completed a quest, which actually, okay, so that makes that a little bit more valuable. You know, we get 20 points off their Nexus for doing that. We get a 10% damage buff. Here you'll see kind of Jax start to really wreck people, which is frustrating to say the least. But now they've got that capture point back. So the quest, good, definitely. You know, capturing that point, otherwise it kind of may or may not have been worth it. And that's one of those things that's tough to judge, because we get the quest completion, we get the 20 damage on their Nexus, we get that buff, but then they're all streaming out of their, you know, out of their Nexus at full health and take out most of our team. So, you know, was it really worth it for the deaths, you know, that we suffered and whatever else? The fact that, you know, that capture point's gone again, you know, and sort of the flow of the fight now, they're kind of up and have a little bit of an advantage on that top the top capture point. I don't know. It's tough to say. The balance is definitely going to be kind of a shifting target for a while. And here once again, I get smashed by Jax. So fun. So fun. Doesn't even have a gunblade. Crushes me. Absolutely crushes me. The one item that I'm wearing with my Prospector's Blade right now is the Ionic Spark. That's a Chain Lightning item. Every 4 attacks you get a Chain Lightning that deals 100 damage to up to 4 targets. Pretty cool item. It's a lot like, if you'll remember, Maelstrom, I think it was called, from Dota. Very similar item. Pretty cool stuff. It's nice to see some new items. I wish they would take the gold corner stuff out from the border of the items. A lot of the Dominion items are actives, and it's tough to tell which ones are activatable or which ones are not. I don't know. It just doesn't seem like we need that kind of stuff. You know, items are blocked out. Obviously, maybe for now, people need to be able to tell the differences. I think a really nice change would be just to add a Dominion tab to you know, to the store, so that people can see, hey, here are the new items from Dominion, you know, instead of kind of like searching around, you know, looking through every tab trying to find which items are new. And maybe it's there, maybe I missed it. I guess I didn't look super close, but I did not see it today. I just saw the, you know, the classic categories, so hopefully that's something that they can make some changes to. It's also a little bit frustrating that kills aren't called out on the main screen. I do wish that we still got to see that. You know, it's a tough thing to balance, though. Obviously, there's a lot of information for Riot to put out. You know, between all the captures and the defends and the quests and the, you know, whatever else it is, there's a lot going on. Oh, you'll see here, Jax has Storm Shield. That's this buff from the middle. I think it's really overpowered. I'm not sure why it's in the game, to be honest, and I'm certainly not sure why they put it in the game the way that they did. the way that it works is you go to the middle and you channel on a little crystal, and it gives you a buff. And the buff lets you deal nuke damage to your attack targets. And it also gives you a health shield that is pretty substantial. I think at level 18, or at least as the game wears on, it's like a 525 health shield. And if you aren't attacked for 10 seconds, that health shield refreshes. It seems a lot too strong to me. I'm not sure why it needs to exist. It is nice to have, I guess, different things around the map to go for, but the gameplay feels pretty dynamic as it is. And one of the big problems is that each team has that buff available to them, but the buff is in the exact same location. So when one team gets ahead, they go to control that buff, and they can kind of control it no matter what. And as you can tell, you have vision of that area. So, you know, it's not even like you can go and say, oh, I'm going to go sneak, you know, Storm Shield. You pretty much, the enemy team knows you're sneaking, you know, you're trying to get Storm Shield. And that's a big problem to me, because the dominant team can pretty easily control that, and it's a huge buff. It's very serious. So here again, the enemy team is doing a really great job of controlling 3 points and then pushing into us. So, you know, they've got their 3 points, they drive into us, force us to kind of stick at our 2 control points, and it's working out really well for them. We were ahead, I think, at one point by about 100 points, and now you can see they're really closing the gap. We're down to about 50-point lead. And Wukong is taking what could be their fourth control point here. We've, you know, lost our second, so it's 3-1 right now. This is a pretty big deal. Okay, so he almost gets that, doesn't quite, and he, you know, obviously tries to jump in on Morgana. And here again, we've got a quest down at the Boneyard. I'm all alone, which is a big mistake. I really probably shouldn't be pushing there. I should probably be trying to move up and take the windmill. We do have a quest, and I think that's probably part of the appeal. It is really nice to get quests. Like, it's a fun thing, but again, you know, I think you need to encourage some smarter gameplay from your teammates. So this is really good. They're all moving up to take windmill. Jax is again getting Storm Shield, which makes him, obviously, like I said, very strong, big health shield. And I'm meanwhile getting kind of smoked on bottom. I'll take out this Xin Zhao, I think, but end up getting worked over by Cat. Yeah, and so I run off. There are a lot of places to kind of dart around the control points, which is kind of cool. You can dip in and out of Fog of War still, you know, even though so much of the map is visible, which is very cool. Again, you hear Jax. He's really starting to run away with it. He's building a death cap along with his Gunblade. He's got that Storm Shield buff, which is, I mean, just, I really think it's too strong. I really hope that that Riot kind of reconsiders the strength of that thing, or even considers removing it. I would be fine with it not existing. You know, with all the speed buffs and the health buffs and stuff around the map, there's kind of a lot to worry about as it is. And I just don't know that it adds that enjoyable of a gameplay. You know, we talk about, or in the forums, designers talk about value versus disruption. I think the disruption factor for that kind of thing, you know, not to existing gameplay, but just disruption in general is pretty high. I think it's sort of it's more frustrating than anything else. You know, I haven't seen it be a key factor in a comeback. I've only seen it be a key factor in really helping a team gain dominance. Now, I say that, but obviously the enemy team is making comeback on us. I think that has a lot more to do with their champion selection than it does, you know, and their point control strategies than it does actually with that buff. So you'll notice here they 4-1 cap us, which is, you know, just really strong, obviously. And those are the kind of caps that you can push for when you've got that third cap covered up top. When you've got windmill captured, it makes sense to dive in and try to take one of the enemy team's 2 control points. And I call them the enemy team's control points because the Nexus really dumps you right to those. So when you're respawning, you know, if you die for some reason, you die overextending trying to take a point. If the enemy team is at one of your points, you're right on top of them right away. Which is pretty cool design. It's nice that, you know, you've got kind of 2 points that you can pretty reliably keep track of. But that makes that top point really important, and I think a lot of people have yet to sort of sort that out. Some strategies that I think will probably become very, very popular. I would guess we'll see a lot of high mobility strats become popular. You know, teams that can rush out to that top point and grab it very quickly. I know in some of the streams we saw a Rammus being able to do that with Boots of Mobility and Powerball, and you know, controlling that top point is really where I think the game is going to be made. If only because respawn timers are so short, and you can kind of get out of your nexus and get to those other two control points very quickly. I did have a game today where we had more of a team fighting comp, and it was fun. But it's tough to force team fights on this map. You know, when we could do it, we ended up doing really well. You know, it gave us some time to get some map control by putting the putting the enemy team down. But I'm not sure that that's going to be, you know, a real viable strategy. I also haven't seen a lot of casters do real well on, you know, just pure casters do real well on this so far. I played Zilean, like I mentioned on the blog today. Zilean did seem to do very well. He did quite well for me today. Who else did I play? I played Swain. Did not like Swain one bit. Again, I was playing against a Jax. I was playing against like a Jax, a Gangplank. You know, I think that was the Teemo game where Teemo was running mobility and Zeals and Priscilla's dominance or whatever that item is that gives you some extra move speed and capture time. Yeah, and he just didn't seem to bring it. I'm willing to bet you're going to see a lot of Gangplank on this map. I could see Twisted Fate actually being sort of decent. He probably doesn't have the durability that you need, but he could probably be pretty good. Oh, who else? Who else might be like that? I was actually thinking Attack Damage Kassadin might work out really well. You know, he got a buff to his passive recently. He got a buff to Netherblade. And I know Attack Damage Kassadin's not really the way that you go on Summoner's Rift, but you know, this map is based around champions that can stay in a fight, get into a fight, stay in the fight, you know, really persist. And I actually think Attack Damage Kassadin could do pretty well if he can soak up some magic damage, really bump up that attack speed. He could do very well. Here I dive in and try to get, you know, one shot on everybody to try to interrupt their casting. It was probably really not worth it. My best bet would probably have been to go with my team, you know, try to take out that Jax. You know, obviously they had that control point, but the flip side of that is, you know, if we do that and we lose that fight, then we're all down. Cat comes in, she, you know, captures the refinery from us, and, you know, then we're really in trouble, kind of like we are right now, where it looks like they are going to 5-cap us. And that gets really painful. You'll notice my team is back up on top, which is good. That feels pretty solid right now, but probably not going to last for long with them having so many control points. And actually, I think this is the tipping point, and there it is. They are at 123, and we are 120, 118. So they've actually just overtaken us. It took them a while. We did have a good early game lead, but they've been controlling Windmill very aggressively, and so, you know, we kind of end up behind, you know, trying to catch up. Jax is just getting so farmed at this point. I'm pretty sure he's got his death cap. He's got his, he's got his gunblade. He might even be at work on a Rylai's now. Yeah, it's just bad news. Here I get cut up by this Wukong. I think Wukong could be a pretty solid champion on here. He's pretty mobile. He's got, you know, some kind of hijinks that could help him escape some attacks and stuff. And obviously his ultimate's great for defending a point. You also notice minions coming out from the bottom. Minions don't show up unless you're controlling a point, which is really nice. They can help you push and capture control points, which is great. Sometimes they'll take it for you if you're able to force a team fight and you've got a big enough wave built up, which is great. Here my team's, you know, diving in for a team fight on bottom when really what we need to do is focus on, you know, gaining some ground back. We're now down, it's 123 to 80. You know, we're really not making any progress. We're kind of getting smoked, and we really need to turn the control points back in our favor so that we can start getting some damage done to their nexus. So I run up top. You'll see Jax coming in on me here. And this is just kind of, you can see how frustrating Jax is. I've got a Sword of the Divine, I've got an Entropy, I've got, all these great items. And despite the fact that I can deal all this damage to him, he still manages to just completely work me, take me down. He's hitting so hard. He dies, but, it's just really frustrating. And granted, he's farmed. Like, he's totally farmed at this point of the game, and I'm not saying that a farmed character shouldn't be able to take me down, but it's frustrating that he was able to get farmed that easily. He really did kind of dominate the mid game. And so we're back to, it's 2-1. My team's Nexus is still taking damage. Pretty frustrating stuff. We've now got 1 cap point, but we're down to 123 to 38. All that team fighting bottom did us no good, and that's something it's really important to remember that. When control point numbers are in your favor, that's when you deal damage to the Nexus, and you deal damage to the Nexus through getting kills and through completing quests and all that stuff. And that's obviously great stuff. Very good to do that. At the same time, though, you need to keep an eye on the fact that when the game comes down to the wire, you really need to be controlling more points. Right now we both have 2 control points. Neither team's taking any Nexus damage, but Jax is about to channel this up and take it to 3-2 again, start dealing damage into the Nexus, and it's going to be over pretty quickly, which is unfortunate. I had a pretty good game. I felt very solid. I was definitely a big contributor for my team. I was able to hold and defend bottom early on in the game. I was able to get some kills through the mid game. But late game, we just really end up getting picked apart. And again, we're chasing. At this point, I think we're all aware that the game's pretty much over. Jax and Alistar picking up again a 4th cap point for their team, and my team's fighting on, one of the enemy's cap points, which really just, it doesn't make any sense. So, if you have a chance to play the Dominion beta anytime soon, talk to your teammates about controlling Windmill. Windmill really is the point that you need to be worried about. Obviously, we had this game kind of in the bag. Well, not necessarily in the bag. We were pretty far ahead in this game, and we kind of threw it away by getting into too many team fights and not really focusing on controlling that Windmill. And that's really where this game is at right now. It's all about Windmill control. Yeah, and that's it. There goes the Nexus. Pretty cool stuff. If you have a chance this week, jump on Dominion and look me up if you want to play.